Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce you real quick. Thank you all for coming for this training session. This is really great to see all you here. This training session is going to be recorded, hence with the big camera in the back. So this will be mainly for the benefit of our student volunteers who couldn't make it today. With that being said, this is Dr. Doris Metz, and she did this for us last year.
Yes, I recognize them.
A lot of you here knew, so I'll just say, I heard last year this program was a huge success. So, and no small part to the training that this person has supplied. A lot of us here don't have education backgrounds. Now, a few of the students are, but this will be a really nice intro and confidence booster for when we go out there and do this great program. So I'll let her take it from here.
Okay, thank you. I do recognize some of you, so some of it may be a little redundant, but a good little refresher possibly. Today we're going to review Bunny Money. Okay, very popular children's book, Max and Ruby and Max. You know, there's a little kids show on TV. All the kids are probably very familiar with it. There's a lot of books written with these two characters. So I don't know which book. Do you know which book you're starting with at the schools? No. So if you were to start with this or the Berenstain Bears, the kids are very familiar with both of those series of books. So they'd be, already kind of in your park, so to speak. So we're going to start with this. And what we'll be doing is strictly going through the Bunny Money lesson plan that you all have, just so that you have an idea of how to follow one of these, because these are going to be provided to you. How you vary from them is up to you. You should make yourself familiar with the lesson plans before you go to the school to present. Connor was telling me there is a kit like this in all of the schools, so you have access to it at the schools. But you should go through the lesson plan and you should read the book at least one time. And I would suggest even reading it out loud so you can practice your voices and that kind of thing, because it helps kids get more engaged in what you're doing. And that's what you want. You want them to be able to be focused on what you're trying to teach them and not, looking out the window and playing with crayons, which they're going to have. So make sure when the time comes for you to dispense the crayons that you hang on to them until it's time to give it to them, because once they have them, you've lost them. Right? Experience?
Yes.
Yeah. Once they have anything in their hands, that's what they're focused on. They're no longer focused on you. So if you want to quickly look at this with me, so it tells you who wrote this lesson and a short description of it. That's more for the benefit of you as the educator, or in this case, you are the educator. The content standards is what your classroom teachers are going to be needing to be responsible for. So that's why this is listed. Your job begins with discussing what the concepts are, what the objectives are, and so on, how long. The time requirement is really a ballpark figure. If you find a good discussion going on with your students, you may have to, you want to have a good discussion, but you don't want them talking about things that are off topic. So you kind of have to bring them back and rein them in, and keep that in mind how long you're going to be. I don't know how long you're given. Do you know how long you're going to have?
Usually about an hour.
It's roughly an hour.
Around 15 minutes. It depends on the school.
So you should know how long you have as well in advance before, so you can plan for it. Otherwise, the teacher is going to anticipate that you're spending an hour and you're done in half an hour. That leaves half an hour of time that they need to make happen and come on their own. So yeah, and what we do now, they may be ready. The experienced teachers will be ready. Inexperienced teachers won't necessarily be ready. So the concepts are really good for you to understand. It's all about goods, interest, long-term goals, saving goals, short-term goals, and spending. So these are all terms you're familiar with, but students aren't familiar with. And when we're talking about concepts, it's not a hit or miss, a one-shot deal. Concepts take a long time of repeat attending to before they finally get it. And so the whole idea, for instance, of savings, having a savings goal, they might think, oh yeah, I can save, I'll save money, blah, 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 blah. I'm gonna, save all my birthday money. Well, birthday money is already spent. They don't have any concept of that time whatsoever when you're talking about, 7, 8-year-olds in second grade. And so for them, having to talk about it and then present it in a different light later on. So, the next time you come and read the next book, they're going to have a little bit more of an understanding of it. The first time they're like, savings? Yeah, I have one of those. I'll pop the top off my bank and count my coins and I put it back. And maybe I put the money back in, and maybe I don't, kind of thing. So these concepts are really for you to think about how am I going to get this idea across. The materials, it tells you everything's in the packet. And I'm not sure if you're going to be responsible for making these copies yourself or if the teacher knows in advance and has those made. But copies of the handouts, for instance, should be available for all of the children. So that's why we're working on this together today. When it comes to...
Usually we have them ready for them.
Did you have to be responsible for making this?
It wasn't us, though. It was all ready.
It was just for the teacher. The teachers are.
I think George would bring it.
George would bring it.
Okay, so Connor, that's going to be your responsibility. George has hit the road.
Yeah, he had everything ready for us. Yeah, he'd bring the book.
Were you aware of that?
Yes, I was. And well
Okay.
before you guys have to be there, you'll know exactly what you're going to be doing and have all the materials
Excellent.
beforehand.
Okay.
Don't you worry.
That's what we do.
Yeah, you will worry because you never know. Whenever you have to put your trust in somebody else, there's always that little nagging feeling of,
But we'll trust you.
do it. Yeah, you have to. You kind of have to.
Yeah, the student usually went to see George, and George.
Yeah, so you were working with a student.
Right.
And I don't know if that's going to work the same way this year or not.
We should have a student with each session. Should.
Should, hopefully. If not, then, George will make sure.
When will we know if we have a student or not? Because I kind of like prepare myself if I'm going to be the one that, because I know last year when I did it, the student, because it was their full part, they kind of ran it and I kind of was like,
Yeah.
so,
Or the helper.
if I'm the one that's going to be doing that, then no.
Yeah, and you should all be prepared to do it. You should
Yeah.
all be prepared in case your
Yeah.
student forgets what's next or anything like that. You should be able to pick up and not have that lag. As soon as there's a moment of lag,
I know.
the students are all over you. I mean, they will be, they don't take any downtime. Teresa, you're laughing. Is this true or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's a planned, like we're going to take a 2-minute break, why don't you take out whatever and play with that for a few minutes? The kids are like, wow, 2 minutes of free time, what do I do? What do I do? So, unplanned or unscheduled time, like, what do I do next kind of moments is trouble for you. So the more prepared you are, the better and the more easily it'll go. Or more successful you'll feel too. So. Okay, but when it comes to procedures, these are just your steps. This is what I will do. So the first thing, really, I'm not going to read everything, but the first thing is really you're wanting to talk about the specialized vocabulary beginning with goods. And whenever you're working with kids, you should always, and even adults, it's nice to have the word written. And you're talking about second graders now. Some of them are still learning how to read. Right? Some of them may have, may be able to read and have been reading for a long time, but some of them are still learning how to read. So try using my handwriting. My elementary handwriting is a little shaky these days, but you just write the word as you're saying it. So it's good. Is it good or goods? Goods. So you write the word and you're saying it, and then you ask students, does anybody, what is this word? And the class said goods. What does that mean? What do you think that means? And you're talking to students and asking them. So what are some ideas do you think you have of what goods are? Just like one word. Thing. Very good. That's a great idea. And then you write it down. Anybody have any idea what kinds of things we're talking about?
It could be anything, really.
Anything you want.
Toys.
And then you start writing them down. So maybe a toy, or a child might say something specific like a Transformers, whatever, And so you're writing it down.
I can.
Yeah, DS, a phone. All the stuff they
Not shock
want.
me at all.
And as long as it's a goods, then you're okay. But some kids might mistake services for goods. Right? And so at that point, if a child mentions a service, and that's when you kind of stop. You don't write it, but you say, well, that's a service. That's when somebody does something for you. That's not a thing. And you don't discount them. If you discount them, they won't volunteer anything. But you write down all the things, and you go on as long as you want to. And if nobody's talking, then you provide it. Anybody see that commercial about this new Kinex thing? Whatever, and then you write it down. And then all of a sudden they're talking, oh yeah, Connor, I want that for Christmas. All right, I got that for my birthday, or, and then, so it continues. It's up to you how long you want to go. It could go on forever and then your time is up. So you have to be mindful of how much time is ticking away. But you have to write the word, you write down what the kids say, and then you can move on. Okay, so what it says here, pretty much, it's really talking about anything. It's an example of like books, toys, food, clothing, and then if they mention service, then you don't want to talk about that so much. That's a service. You want to point it out, but not a goods. And then you go do the same thing with all the other words that we're learning. So spending, right? Anybody know what it means to be spending money?
It's like you're buying.
You're buying something. Anybody ever spend any money?
No.
You know, well, some kids, you'd be surprised, some kids haven't ever spent money because they always go to the store with mom or somebody else. And they have a hard time with money because what do we use now?
Debit card.
Debit card.
And that's what they'll say, I bet you. Oh,
Yeah,
debit card.
we can have a card. You can buy that, you have a card.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My 5-year-old nephew just told me that last
Right?
weekend.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the price of it, the cost of it is, it's, you have a card.
Well, I don't have a card. Well, you have a check. Write a check.
Yeah, when I first started teaching, it's like you have a check could be whatever. It didn't matter that you had money to cover whatever the
Exactly.
expense
As long
was.
as you
It's
had
that
a
you
check.
had the check.
Mhm.
You have a check, you have money, right?
right.
And that's how kids understand things. But you would do the same thing with spending, and you'd write down what they think spending is or what they spend money on. Okay? And then you continue, and you write save, and you just continue, and all the words that are specialized are already bolded for you, so you know, that's a clue for you. Now, do you think it's going to be a bother if you have this with you? Or do you have to memorize? No, you have it with you.
Actually, last year, none of them brought this, I don't recall.
I did. I
Yeah, you did.
highlighted
Yeah, the
stuff in
teacher
there.
had it.
I know the girl that I was with, she didn't have it, but I mean, she was prepared. I think maybe she had done it already once.
Yeah.
And it was her second time, so.
Yeah. Once you've done it in a school and you have it under your belt, you have that confidence. And if it was recent, it's even better. Because if you did it earlier this week or just last week, then it's still fresh in your mind and you'll remember it. So then you won't have it. But there's nothing wrong with having it so you can reference. It's like, oh, I forgot this one thing. Which happens all the time. Okay, so anyway, after you've done all the specialized vocabulary, and it's these 3 words for this particular one, then you talk about how you're going to be reading to the students this book called Bunny Money. Does anybody know these characters? And you can talk, kids will know, who is that? Well, that's Max. He has this older sister, Ruby,
Ruby, yeah.
who can't stand her brother because he's always causing problems. But you have that discussion and you tell them a little bit about what this book is about and they give you a little synopsis, right? And then it tells you what else you can do. So there's a copy of handout 1. There are visuals in here too. I don't know if you, the visuals are just, if you have like a transparency machine or something like that, then you can put it on the overhead projector. But you don't really need that. You can just show everybody. Like everybody's going to have a copy of this. Right? And so you hand that to everybody at this time because you want them to be working on this while you're reading, right? And so in that point, you give them the crayons as well. You can enlist students to deliver that stuff for you, and then it gives them an important job to do instead of you just doing all the work. Have
And some
different
classrooms actually have people that have those jobs.
Right, and there may be jobs. So you could ask, like, does anybody have the handing out paper job this week or today? And then that person does the materials. Some classrooms will have a little carol. So all the materials are there. So then, take your crayons and use that. So it really depends on the students and the classroom that you're in. But you'll have to be familiar with that. You'll know when you walk in if they have that or not. So you distribute that. So if you want to, you can do it along with me while I'm reading the story. So you're going to need that page. But it also tells you, like what's going to be happening. So there are different ways of reading a book. I know, Teresa, I'm not sure if Dr. Murphy teaches you to read this way. This is how I learned how to read. So, as you're reading, you're kind of reading sideways and upside down. But you don't have to do it. As long as kids get to see the pictures while you're, explain to them. Some kids may not have a lot of experience with books, even though they might be in 2nd grade. So you can say, this is Bunny Money by Rosemary Wells, because there's always an author. Right? It's not just Bunny Money.
Now, I do know last year, the teacher that I was, the student, I should say, that I was with, she read the book, and then we did the handout, and then reread the book.
Yeah, you can certainly do that, but however it works, and you may want to find out, like when you first go in, ask the teacher, like, because some classrooms are very high strung, and so you don't want to give them this because they're going to be coloring, and they're not listening to the story. So you may want to read the story, then hand the paper out, and then read the story again. So they've heard the story, they know what's happening, and then they can concentrate on crossing out and coloring. But you're all adults, I trust you. Okay, so then I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Max's sister Ruby saved a wallet full of money for Grandma's birthday present. Have any of you ever saved money for somebody? To buy a present for somebody? You could do that. Right? You don't have to, but you could. We're going to buy Grandma a music box with skating ballerinas, Max, said Ruby. Get your lucky quarter and let's go shopping. And then it shows you the money. So Ruby took $1 from her wallet to pay the bus fare. So you can see she has a wallet. She took one money to pay for the bus. Okay. And you could ask the children, has any of you ever ridden a bus? Did you have to have a token? The bus stopped at Rosalinda's gift shop. In the window was a music box with skating ballerinas. Isn't it beautiful, Max? Said Ruby. Thirsty, said Max. You may buy a very, very small lemonade, Max, said Ruby. Next door in Candy's corner window were hundreds of vampire teeth. Max knew Grandma would love a set of teeth with oozing cherry syrup inside for her birthday. Right, of course she would. Right? And then you can keep going. He bought them instead of the lemonade. $2, please, said Candy. Max wanted to make sure the teeth worked. He put them on.
Oh, jeez.
And as you're going, you can talk to the students. Like, have any of you ever had those fake teeth that you put in your mouth? The teeth worked perfectly. Uh-oh.
Made a mess.
Made a mess. Ruby had to take Max to the laundromat. Soap cost $1. The washer cost $1, and the dryer cost another $1. So, the second time that you're reading the story, kids are checking off on that paper. Money down the drain, Max, said Ruby. Hungry, said Max. It was lunchtime. Max finished off a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, 2 coconut cupcakes, and a banana shake. Lunch cost $4. What's happening to Ruby's money?
He was using it. Disappearing.
Yeah, and you could even make a connection to all these things that they've been purchasing are goods, right? They've all been things. Money is running through our fingers, Max, said Ruby. They walked all the way back to Rosalinda's gift shop without spending another penny. I'd like to buy the music box with skating ballerinas for Grandmother's birthday, said Ruby to Rosalinda. It's $100, said Rosalinda. $100? said Ruby. Ice skates are made of real gold, Rosalinda explained. Ruby looked in her wallet. The only thing left was a $5 bill. Here's an idea, said Rosalinda. Bluebird earrings that play "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning" are on sale for $4. Gift wrap is free. We'll take them, said Ruby. And then you keep going. And, as you find out, if you've read the story, they kind of run out of money. Mm-hmm. So Max's lucky quarter at the end, they can use to call Grandma to come pick them up because they no longer have money. Okay, but you will go through the story, and you can do it however way. You may want to read the story and then read it again after you've distributed the papers. But the idea is the students are going to be, while they're listening, they're being very active in crossing out the money as they're going, and they can color the item that goes along with what they just spent. So the first thing was $1 for the wax teeth, vampire teeth, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that they can see, they have a visual of what they're hearing, which is what the kids are needing. Now, the money that we have, you can also use these kinds of bills. All I did last year was take a photocopy of the front piece of the book and the back. Front back. And then I made these bills. So there's the right amount of money, what was in the wallet is in here except for the quarter. And then so kids who need to be more kinesthetic can be taking the money this way out. So they've got the money. But and the lamination is just with last one. Okay? And I think these are available too, right? So you'll be able to bring some of these with you to the school, or it's already in the kits at the schools.
Yes, there should be some in the kits already.
And what the teachers can do also after you've left, they can leave this in a learning center with the money, and a child can go back and just revisit it and read the story, take the money out, and start making that connection. Because kids really don't have they don't play with money. They don't know what money is. Like we did. We had Monopoly and Sorry, and you always wanted to have, even if it was funny money, it was you still understood that $1, you needed 5 of those ones to make a $5 bill, and it wasn't, one bill of 5 is not, it's not less than having those 5 $1 bills, because kids always want a stack of $1 because it looks like they have a lot
of money. Yeah.
So just like I want to have all the pennies instead of this more valued coin. As you're going along, anyway, you can keep on going. Number 6, it says when the story is finished, ask the following questions. So you do want to have these comprehension type questions. So how many dollars had Ruby saved? And they should be able to tell you 15. And then, so they'd be able to count how many dollars, and they'd be able to count on that worksheet also how much she had. What did she plan on purchasing? So were they listening to the story? Why didn't she buy the music box? And so on. So the questions are already there. You could probably come up with some other questions too if you're feeling like kids are just kind of looking at you. I don't know what you're asking. You can change the questioning a little bit, the wording, so they're more understanding. And then if you look at number 7, we're starting to get more vocabulary words. So now we're back up here. You could review these, and say what were the goods that Max purchased. What did they spend their money on? So you're reviewing, and did they save any money at the end? That kind of thing. And then you can go on to savings goals. So whenever you see one of these words or phrases, you write it on the board as you're talking about it, so kids can see the word and make that relation. I think it's good to have something visual for them to refer to. Some of the activities require them to write, and if the kids don't know how to spell things, they can refer back to this, and it's already there, the words are there. So you would go ahead and talk about a savings goal. What is a savings goal? Anybody?
Oh, you are asking us.
Yes, I am asking.
Saving for a future purchase.
Yeah, you're saving for the future. It's not, I have $1 in my pocket and I have to spend it right now.
Burning a hole.
Burning a hole. And we know that it happens a lot to a lot of people, right? And so how do we help kids that it's okay to save it? There's this other item that you want to buy. So it's okay to save it. You want me to hold on to it? Parents do all kinds of things. You want me to hold it? Let's get you a jar. You can put it in there. Let's get you a piggy bank. You can save it. That kind of way. It's really cool now. They have the banks that when you drop the coins, it counts for you. Right? Some kids like that, but then they always pry those open. Right? They always open it up because they don't believe it's still in there. It's out of sight. Right? So, it's just to help them with that. And then you're talking about short-term goals and long-term goals. A short-term goal would be what kind of purchase?
Like a book.
A book.
Game.
What kind of game?
A board game.
Maybe a board game.
I know one of the kids that said ice cream.
Ice cream cone.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that usually doesn't cost a whole lot of money, and it's something that, families can pretty much afford, on a spur of the moment. Whereas a long-term goal is much more costly.
A bike.
A bicycle, a computer, that iPad everybody wants, the DS, gaming system or something. Those are much larger purchases. And so there's an activity that you can do with that as well. And I remembered what it was that was missing. It was the little badges,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because there were little name tags.
Yep.
Kind of what you're wearing.
Susie's.
Yes, Susie's short term and very long term. So you can have kids be these characters as well, but you can share with them, and these are in here already. So we have, you can talk about, so Susie short term, maybe this is why it wasn't in there, because you have this, and the child can wear it, but they always like to have things pinned to them, or get the hello, I'm, names, and then
You can just get a clip, like
Get a
a,
clip,
a binder clip.
binder clip. I mean, as long as they have it, they'll have a hard, if they are holding this, they're playing with it.
Yeah,
So if it's clipped to them, they're not playing with it.
yeah.
But anyway, short term, there are some short term items like a ball. I like that in your packet there's just a picture of a ball. But because these kids are learning how to read, it's important to have the word with it. So there's a ball and the word ball, and then the book, and then a board game. And then you can ask kids, what are other things that are short term? What might be, so the ice cream cone. What might be some other things kids would say? Markers. And then the long term, so here's Larry long term's tag. Your computer or laptop, gaming system, bike. And of course there are other, what?
I had a little boy bike. He says, well, no. He says, that's for short term. I said, no, it takes a long time to see what for a bike. He says, no. He says, I paid $25 at a garage. I said, well, there you have it.
So it is.
Yeah, it's
So you can explain that.
Some of them come up with these. Oh, he was pretty smart as a whip. It's like,
But
oh my God.
that's a really good connection for that
Yeah.
child. I mean, you made that if it's a brand new bike that you have to buy at a store, it's a long term goal. But if you buy it at a yard sale, or if it's given to you, it could be a short term.
Yeah.
Right? So just the same with a gaming system, you could buy it used, that kind of thing. So when you're talking about it, you have to encourage students to say, that's right, it would be a short term goal. And good thinking on your part, give your brain a kiss, kind of thing. Because a lot of people don't think of it, as adults, we don't think of it in those terms. So we really have to listen to what they're telling you and then go with what they're saying. And correct them, of course, if they're not correct. And then, right now it's the holiday season, so there's a lot of sale papers going around. So if you could even, before you go to talk about, especially when you're doing this book, if you, just clip out pictures and, you mount them yourself, and then you can say, okay, what is this? It's a picture of a Transformers. Would this be a long-term goal or a short-term goal? And you just give it to the kids, and then they're having to get up and move too, which is always helpful as well. Do you have any questions so far?
Wasn't there a part where we had like wants and needs?
Yep. That's coming up.
Okay.
I think that's coming up.
I had a teacher who had a good lesson. Like that was the teacher herself, the school
Yep.
teacher.
Oh, this is it with this book.
No, I don't think so. No,
Yeah, there's a
Maybe it's the other book?
Berenstain
Berenstain
Bears.
Bears. Yeah.
But yeah, wants and needs, kids have a hard time with that too. Adults have a hard time with that.
Yeah. Do you want it or do you really
Do you, do you have to have it to survive?
Yes,
That would be an, yes, I need that, I get I fall apart.
Yeah.
I have to have the latest smartphone.
Yep.
You have to be able to explain to kids that that's really a want. It's not a need. And the kids have a hard time, adults have a hard time with that concept. So, it's to have that conversation though, that's the important part. Once they hear the conversation or are a part of the conversation, the next time they hear it, then they kind of have that pause. It's like, was that a want or a need? Which is what we want. We want them thinking, but it's that concept again. Concepts are really hard to wrap our minds around, but once we start getting the experience with it, our mind starts wrapping around it, and then we start understanding it a little better, and we can apply it to different situations. It takes a long time to understand wants and needs. It takes a long time to understand what a short-term goal is versus a long-term goal. Because, especially for kids, well, mom can buy that.
Yeah, right.
It's always short term.
Because it's always, if mom and or dad don't want to buy it, then my aunt will buy it, my grandma will buy it, somebody will buy it for me, I don't have to save money. Right? I mean, they'll get it one way or the other, and so they don't understand that whole thing about it. It takes a long time to earn money that is quickly spent. So, but this is just a way to get started. And then, there are other handouts that you can do, and it tells you distribute handout, whatever. So if we look at handout number 4, it's choosing my saving goals. I think that's a really good one to do with kids as well. Because kids, and even the kids who might have a disability, a learning disability, can still do this. They can have their paralegal helping, or you, as you're in the classroom, you can help them write down what they need to write. So what might be a short-term goal they have and a long-term goal? So they have to think about it. They can only pick one, and that's the hard part, right? So what if you could, the short-term, you might be thinking, well, how long might you have to save for that? Like, how are you going to earn your money? And you might even have that as another item that you're writing on the board. Like, what are some jobs you can do to earn money? Maybe setting the table, sweeping the floor, I don't know what chores, whatever those chores are that kids have. And they'll tell you, and so you write them down. How much does your mom or dad pay you for doing that? Do they pay you for that? You get an allowance. If you get an allowance, what do you do with your allowance? Do you save it? Do you spend it? And then you can start thinking, okay, a short-term goal, that's something you can get rather quickly because it doesn't cost a lot of money. Now, even saying something like that, kids have no concept between what costs $5 versus $500. To them, they both have a 5. Right? They're the same. It means nothing to them, really. It takes a long time to get there. So, just having a conversation, what might be a short-term goal for them? Most kids have a ball already. So, when we're looking in these pictures and the ones that were in this packet, they're good, but they're kind of silly. In that kids have a ball, they've had a ball forever, right? 8-year-olds probably have 20 balls in their yard, right, of all kinds of shapes and so on. They probably almost all have a bike. So what else might they want? This time of year, if you're doing it like between now and Christmas, what might they be thinking about wanting? A sled. A sled versus a snowmobile.
Yeah.
Right? Short-term goal versus a long-term goal. Right? A scooter, in the summer, a scooter versus an ATV. Might be a little more important. Something that the kids have that stuff. A lot of those kids, a lot of kids have that available to them. So it makes your job a little more difficult as far as thinking, what might be a short-term goal? But you have to have that conversation with kids. Some kids may never, don't even know what a 4-wheeler is. Okay. So then you have that conversation. Are you having a birthday coming up? Do you usually get money for the birthday, or do you get, the ugly sweater? Grandma, right? It's always grandma's job to give you the ugly sweater, right? And then, slip a $10 bill or something. But, what do you do with the money if you get it for your birthday? Are you saving for something in particular? And if kids say, yeah, I'm saving for, is that a short-term goal or a long-term goal? I really want a DS. Well, the DS is a long-term goal. A short-term goal might be a game that goes with the DS. Depends. Some of those are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Some of those could be a long-term goal too, right? But, so you can have that conversation kind of individually with kids as they're talking to you, right? And then you could even have them kind of brainstorming. If they're sitting in groups, you could have them talk amongst themselves, like, what are some things you want? In our little group, maybe somebody wants a Barbie and somebody else wants, checkers, a game of checkers, and then somebody else wants something really expensive. And so, like, okay, which of these are short-term goals, which are long-term goals? But you really have to think and talk about it. And so having this activity, spending some time on here is really worth it because it's very individualized. And kids have to really think about it for themselves. And so you help them write whatever it is, and then they have to depict it somehow. So they have to draw a picture. Now, it's always, but miss, I can't draw the... It's like, well, I don't know how to draw that either. How do you think it's drawn? Because I've seen entirely too many teachers say, let me draw that for you.
Oh, gee.
And it's like, wait. How is that child ever going to learn how to do it for themselves, right? So it's like, my always catch-through phrase was, I don't know. What do you think it looks like? And then, well, I don't know. And then you say, well, do you think it has 4 legs? You kind of, no, I think it only has 2 wheels. Oh, well, why don't you show me how you draw 2 wheels? And then you kind of have that conversation and then they do it. It might not look like anything that you can recognize, but they know what it is. And that's the important part. And plus, writing what it is helps. You know, it's like, that's a G.I. Joe? Okay.
I feel like a GI what?
Kind of looks like an ice cream cone, you know, but, so doing this activity is really very important. If you have time, then going to the bank is a helpful one as well, but this is going to be very time consuming for some of the kids who have trouble with writing. I don't know if you had a chance to do this one.
No,
Yeah, we know us neither.
Actually, the one I had done last year, the teacher took it on herself.
Yeah, and so that might happen. Whatever you don't finish up, the teacher might continue.
Yeah.
But it's really important because it helps to formulate and kind of finalize what you're going to be doing when you do go to the bank. I'm going to the bank, and writing a little story about I'm going to be going to the bank to save my money so I can purchase this goods, right? And then you really should do this closure one as well if you have a chance. It's kind of like what Max is going to be doing after. So Max is going to be saving money. He needs to save $5 because he wants to buy a glow-in-the-dark necklace that goes with his teeth. And so, you know, what good is he saving for the necklace? How much is he needing to spend? $5. The information is there. Is his savings goal a short-term or a long-term goal? Right? I mean, for all of us, it's a short-term goal, but if Max doesn't get paid for anything, it could be a long-term goal. Right? I mean, if he realizes that if his money comes from finding coins on the street, it might take a while.
Collecting bottles.
Right?
Yeah.
But the idea, collecting bottles. I mean, but the idea is that that's a short-term goal because it's $5 versus something that costs much more. And then, but it tells you now, Max earns $1 a week by helping around the house. So it will take him 5 weeks, right, to save his money. So how many weeks? And then you draw his picture of his necklace. So this is a good way for kids to kind of wrap up what these specialty words were, and then, you know, kind of wrap up what Max is all about, Max and everything. So, do you have any questions on?
So those boxes are going to be at the school, like there's no way we can have a box with us before to kind of like go through things?
If you want to look through it, I can certainly arrange that. You can get mine or Scott's copy of it.
There's here. There's one.
Yeah, we have at least two here on campus, and there's already one at the classroom. So if you want to look for it, I can always take them over to the Acadia Credit Union
Right.
branches, so you guys, and I leave it there for a few days, so you guys can look at it.
Now, do the students have access to, is that what they're learning? I mean, because they're as well, because I was under the impression normally it's the student that's really conducting and we're helping. Am I?
Well, last year that's what it was, but we had a lot of student volunteers last year.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Consider,
things
there were a lot of students.
Like, I wouldn't mind doing it by myself, but I'd like to know like
Yeah.
now if I'm doing it by myself so I can.
You will
know.
have at least one student.
Okay.
If you will. I 100% guarantee it.
Okay.
Is there one of these in our library, like in Blake?
I do not know.
Because you may want to leave one like at, just at the circulation desk, so anybody in the Fort Kent area could just come and look at it. And you just have it as, you can look at it for like 2-hour period or something in the library, and then you have to return it.
Let me check this Scott.
But, because it is handy to take a look at what's here. And there are a lot of other books, like this is new this year, Mr. Tannen's Tie. And Joe the Monkey Saves for a Goal, a story. And last year we had Bunny Money, we had Trouble with Money.
And then we had the chair for that one was difficult. Well, it wasn't difficult, but it was hard to keep the kids' attention because there was a lot of just sit down doing things.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
no visuals, there was nothing in that.
Yeah, and you can Google that stuff. You can just look.
Yeah.
I can tell you, like, go ahead. Like one of my teachers that I was with, when it was time to read the story, the kids were sitting at the table. But the time that we did Susie short term, Larry long term, she moved the kids away from the desk and had them sit on the carpet.
Yep.
So we did in different sections, so it moved the kids around. And
Yeah, the more they're moving, I mean, you want them focused on you, but they got itchy bottoms.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I mean, as adults, we have a hard time just sitting here and not moving around.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, for kids, we tend to think that whatever their age is, that's about as long as they can stay focused on one activity. So you're talking about 7-year-olds, and 7 minutes is really pushing it. So if you can do it in 5 minutes, you're pretty good. And then you have to switch over to something else. Now, the reading of the story is not bad if you're stopping and asking questions.
Yeah.
You know, because then that's engaging them. Otherwise, they're just sitting here listening. And for some kids, they love it. For other kids though, they're all, they're wondering. So you have to be aware of that. And, kids are different, so it's hard to say the kids you had last year might be very different from the ones you have this year. I'm looking at that, a chair for a mother. You don't have that, do you?
I know I had mentioned it to Kate, and she was supposed to mention it to George about this one, that I know some of the concepts in it were a little too much for them at that age level.
This is good to hear.
It needed to be tweaked a little bit if they were going to use it. I mean, it was a great story and everything, it just needed to be tweaked a little bit.
Yeah, but it's an awesome story, and kids actually, that's like a first, second grade book.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
The
age
worksheets
appropriate is good, but maybe the
worksheets
work
were
that came
not.
along with it.
Yeah, the story was fine. It was the worksheets that they had with it. And it was
What grade was that?
Second grade.
Yeah, second grade as well?
Yeah, it was second grade, yeah.
I never went for one of those. I only did the
Me too, I only did the money.
Yeah, there were three. There was the bunny money, there was a chair for a mother,
Berenstain Bears. I don't think we got to do the
and then the
Berenstain
Berenstain.
I didn't do the
Me
Berenstain.
neither.
I don't think anybody did. I don't think they got to do it last year.
And right now, but you're working on looking for lesson plans for Joe the Monkey and Mr. Tannen's Tribal Institute.
So that would be like a different time that we go, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
each book is a different time that
Okay.
you go, but all of these work the same way. You just need to look at the lesson plan before time, read the book. Maybe while you're reading, if you have experience reading to kids already, your own kids, grandkids, the neighbors' kids, whoever, you kind of know where that conversation is with those kids, so you can kind of think about that. If you don't, though, this looks like a really fun book.
Yeah.
But is it going to be fun? I don't know until you read it. I'm not familiar with this book. And so sometimes, like saying loop-de-loo, whoop-de-doo, Joe, might be, your tongue starts tripping over itself. So, without a lot of practice, it might be difficult.
Now, if you do one of those books, do we get lesson plans before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you'll get everything you need well beforehand. In fact,
Okay,
this week,
good.
next week, they'll really start rolling that stuff out. And all of you should have my email by now, so if you have any questions or concerns. You don't? Boy.
Well, Kate forwarded it to him, so his email should be.
Okay.
Hey, you guys should have it. Okay. Whew.
It's like a moment of panic.
We usually go to Kate, and Kate goes to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we usually do.
Yeah.
No, it works.
Find out the channel.
Yeah.
Works good.
Okay. And I'm sorry.
No.
I'll also let you guys know what students you have right now. Some of you have 1, some of you have 2, some of you have 0 right now. There's more of you that have some than 0 right now, but I'll let you know soon, like this afternoon or tomorrow, what you have right now. Okay.
And you have to remember our education students population has decreased, so we just don't have a lot of students in the pipeline right now. The big clump that we had last year was from like our last large class.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
So, and they're out student teaching and, entering the profession right now, so, good for them, not so good for you. But, so we have 3 students now, right now.
That's good.
And even a non-education student with Mariah, so, it's nice. Now, at the end of your lesson, though, before you leave, make sure you go over what you've been writing. Even if it's very quick, you could play like a quick Jeopardy game or something like that, so kids can. I think it's have teams or anything like that that will get them to remember what these words were for next time.
I do have to say though, if they're giving you an hour, that hour goes.
It does.
Where it, you want to do so many things, but I remember there was certain things we just had.
Just don't have time.
Yeah,
We just don't have time to cover.
Yep. Emphasize the important things. It's good to write so
Yes.
students have the words,
Yeah.
and as you're talking about it, it's good to have the conversation, especially up front. You really need to know what they know, what's their prior knowledge about what you're going to talk about, because that really gears how you're going to be presenting. If kids know a lot about saving money, you don't have to talk to them as much about saving money. You'll refresh their memories, but you're not going to be spending a lot of time talking about, if you have this much and you're saving it for that, how much more are you going to need, that kind of thing. But make sure you spend at least one time going through the book. This one's short, so it's easy to read twice. A Chair for Mother is a long one, and same with the Berenstain Bears, it's a much longer story, so, maybe wanting to read it once. But this one, that was a great idea that you had said about reading it once, then you give them the handout, then you read it again so you can cross it out, because they will get, once they have crayons or paper, that's it. for the most part, most of them will be, they're gone. So if you want them focused on what it is, make sure that they're focused on you. And then to get them moving as much as possible, that's always important too. And then revisiting, just to wrap it up.
So since we're all gonna have students with us, is it still the student that does pretty much the primary, we help out? I mean, I know we have to be prepared and stuff, like you say, if the student kinda gets stuck, we kinda have to be there to help them out, to move them along, but it's still the student's primary to be the focus of it, and we're there to learn and push it along too.
If we're looking at this, you guys are an insurance policy almost for the classroom. Like I said before, to be honest, half the student volunteers I have right now that are signed up for a session, 2 or 3 of them are not education people, so they'll know what's going on, they'll know what to do, but you guys are there, you're the
Right.
overarching influence there, and ultimately it's up to the team that's there to decide, okay, who's going to divvy up the responsibilities, how are we going to do it. So I'm not going to dictate that to you guys, and neither does anyone else. So amongst yourselves, and you'll know who you're dealing with well beforehand. You guys can decide, okay, well, how do I do this and you do this?
So is it any possible where you can give us like a contact for these people so we can
Yes.
Yeah,
kinda,
we
like,
do.
Oh yeah.
okay.
You get to know who they are.
Oh yeah.
And we usually, like, I would contact my person, and we would speak before we meet up with the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll know very soon.
Yeah, and it's good to have that conversation
Yeah.
before you get to the school.
Yeah.
Because kids will know that you're not ready.
Yeah.
If Teresa and I were coming into the door and say, okay, Teresa, you do this and I'll do that, okay? Kids know that you're not ready and, who's doing what. And it's very...
So we did.
We
We didn't have a student, so it was just, okay.
Yeah, but it feels different. Your confidence kind of lags a little bit when you're not prepared.
So there was no student there?
No, it was Kate and I. Kate came with me because there was no students, so.
Where was that?
I don't want to.
So you'll be able to do it by yourself.
Well,
I don't know why we don't have a student for yet because we just scheduled.
I'm not always good this year, so I'm safe.
Oh,
Well, and I think it's important for anyone to be prepared to do it on their own if they have to, because you never know. I mean, people get sick.
Yes.
right.
Stuff happens, life happens, and you may have to present by yourself, so you should be prepared to present by yourself. And then if you get to share, it's nice. It's
I
nice.
think what's hard is, it would be easier for like 2 employees, because if they prepared, it's easy for us to prepare, we're there, we're together.
Right.
Where the student is, we're not together, it's hard to prepare,
Yeah.
because we don't work together.
That's what I was just,
So it makes it a little harder.
especially, if we don't know who they are. A lot of us don't know the students because they come from everywhere, so makes it a little difficult.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the purpose was to begin with as far as pairing a student up with one of the Acadia people, except to kind of make it more user-friendly, because it was education students initially. And so the education student kind of understood the teaching aspect of it, and it helped you and you would help the education student. But I don't see a reason why you can't do it yourself. Any questions that you have, you can direct to Connor, you can direct it to me, Connor can direct it to me, and then, can have that conversation.
Right, or, I'm just thinking of Cornelia here. If someone like myself wanted to do it with her, so she'd feel more comfortable if she doesn't have a student, or, you know what I mean?
I think it is better with two.
I wouldn't do it.
Absolutely, it is always better to do.
Oh, yeah.
You get 2 minds to think here.
Well, not just that, but while one
have
is,
help to-
one's reading or whatever, the other one's can distribute. It's just a
And
little.
that, probably.
But I would think that that's going to be a decision that your office is going to have to make.
Yes.
And it may be on a case-by-case basis. You're all going to be able to do a great job, so.
Yeah.
And what I tell a lot of people, if it looks like you know what you're doing, kids won't know any better. Because you're an adult. You're supposed to know what you're doing.
And they look up to you, so.
And they look up to you, so, as long as you're not setting anyone on fire and, hurting anyone, you're okay. Are you giving thanks? I heard the question.
I know, last year, the kids.
Oh, yeah, they love
so
that.
in there when they gave that out, oh my gosh, you should have seen
They were
it.
kind of like, you know, hug and they were
Yeah.
And those tailors move there, and they put all They loved it. Yeah.
Okay, yep, I'll keep that in mind. We have a storage closet full of some of those things, so.
Well, you got a lot of crayons, you said.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of random crap in my closet. For sure. George left me a lot of cool things.
Good. Okay, does anybody have any other kinds of questions at all as far as how to present or what, are you nervous about being in front of a group of students?
I'm not being really, honestly.
The first time I was, oh my gosh.
But really, we worked together, like the teacher, she told me what she wanted me to do though. I mean, she was like,
perfect.
she was the one,
Running the show.
yeah. And she told me, well, you'll do this, you'll do that. I said, okay, tell me what needs to be done. Like the coloring of the dollar bills. She had me in front and the kids could see what I was doing while they were doing it as well.
I had
so
to
you were a
do
good
the same
mom.
thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some kids won't know what to do, and it depends. The teacher knows their students best. And so maybe that group of students needed somebody to demonstrate, so while you're reading and
I'm
everything's
sorry.
going on, then you're...
I said teacher, excuse me, I take that back. Student.
Student, yeah.
It's the
Yeah,
student
because the teacher.
that I was with that told me,
Oh, yeah.
well, I'll let you do this, I'll let you do that, or,
Yeah.
it was her.
Yeah, it was
I
her
meant the
name.
student. I
Yeah,
said
the student, university student.
There we go.
But the teacher also, you're going to know who you're seeing,
Yes.
whose class you're going to. So, I mean, you can contact that teacher and say, this is what I'm doing, is there anything you'd like me to know before I go in? Some of our teachers, have a lot of students with special needs, and they may be in the class, or they may be getting up and leaving, and things like that. So for you who aren't ready for that, it might be a big distraction. But the kids, they deal with that all the time, so they don't even notice someone getting up and leaving. Whereas for you, you might stop and then you forget, what was I supposed to do next? Because they're not familiar with it. So you may want to ask the teacher, how do you want me to approach this? This is what my plan is. Is that okay with you? We're going to be, if you want us to show up early, if you want us, when do you want us? Because, everybody's going to be presenting at different times of day. Is it before recess? Is it after recess? Is it at lunchtime? Is it first thing in the morning, right before the bus? All those things play a big role, and kids are anxious to leave at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Or go to recess.
Or go to recess, yeah. Or they just came back from lunch.
That's good.
So, it's good to have, to know what that is going to be like for you. And maybe having, little tricks up your sleeve, if they're very distracted, like what could you do to help them focus on you? And if you don't know, ask your teacher, like how do you get them focused? And things like that. So there's all sorts of things, the whole right brain, left brain. Kids have been sitting for a while, and I haven't gone to recess yet, have them do a little, let's do jumping jacks or something, let's get that out, and then we'll be ready. Okay? That's all I got.
I don't have any.
But anyway,
Now we're gonna play charades.
feel free to email me also if you need to, but you can contact Honor if you want. But my email address is just my first name dot last name.
Oh, you guys can keep that if you want, or please do, in fact. Give them back if you really, really don't want them.
Writes
but-
really
Too
good.
bad I'm going home and I'm not going back to the office.
You're not supposed to be coloring at work anyway, Gail. Who would know?
You play with the plastic Barbies.
Anyway, this is my email address. That's my office number if you need to get in touch with me. I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can as I can. You're all going to watch my teachers.
Oh, I don't know about that, I'm sorry. That's why I'm not in that field.
Me too, 'cause I don't have patience.